So what's the fastest way to build momentum in your business so that you can break through to your next level of success? So you can grow faster, easier, with less effort. I'm Doug Haynes, Vista's chair, and I want to share with you this concept of the flywheel that I learned years ago when I read Good to Great by Jim Collins. And recently I taught this to my Vistage CEO peer advisory group here in the Triad, and they found that it was very helpful to them. So I want to share that lesson with you. Collins uses the flywheel analogy because it really is a mechanical tool that's developed out of metal with counterweights in it. And a flywheel works in an engine to generate momentum and accelerate your progress so that you're not constantly having to stop and start. It's got counterbalances in there, counterweights that allow it to accelerate. And once you get it going at a certain rate of speed, the momentum kind of carries its own with a minimal amount of energy. And that is what Collins says is key, that successful companies and organizations have done, is to map out their flywheel. And that's what we're going to do in this quick lesson. It is something that we go back to Good to Great to find that Collins, in context, says that greatness is not a function of circumstance. Turns out greatness is largely a matter of conscious choice and discipline, something that we have to focus on. What's discipline? Another one of his books, he says consistency of action. We have to be more consistent in what we do. And execution is a key to that. And a lot of times things get in the way. And so the flywheel will help us become more consistent. If you want to learn more, one of the things I would encourage you to do is get his new monograph he wrote a couple of years ago. It's only 40 pages. It's called Turning the Flywheel, and this is where I taught the lesson from. He says the greatest danger in business and life lies not in outright failure, but in achieving success without understanding why you were successful in the first place. So we need to map out what is our successful path. And he starts the book with Amazon's flywheel. And they asked him shortly after wrote Good to Great, around 2000, I think he went in to Amazon, and they actually are still using the same flywheel today in all of their businesses. And briefly, it starts with the most fundamental component, as he calls it, of their success, to be lower prices on more offerings. And when they did that, it led to increased customer traffic to their website, which then led to attracting more third-party sellers to sell more stuff, which led to expanding the store, extending their distribution, which then led to growing revenues on top of the fixed costs that they had, which then fed into, as they become more efficient, they're able to lower prices on more offerings more. Now, you're not Amazon, I'm not Amazon, but he uses in his book an analogy of an elementary school that developed their own flywheel, a medical clinic, and other businesses. So anybody can do it. The key is that you have to focus on a few things that are going to help you generate momentum. So let's talk about how we're going to do that. How do we capture your flywheel? Well, you have to capture the sequence that ignites and accelerates momentum, the secret sauce for your success, you might say. And this is something that's a draft that we're going to start with, and you'll get better at it. So let's do the exercise to create your flywheel that I did with my group. Number one, I want you to take 3 minutes and list 3 to 5 of your greatest successes as a business. What are those key components, as he calls it, that are not a list, but build on each other? Those few things that if you do these well, you have found that leads to more success. And then take another 3 minutes and list the 3 to 5 failures and disappointments that you've had that cause you the greatest concern. Things that get you, that slow down your momentum when they happen. And then what I want you to do is I want you to compare the lists. What are your greatest successes? What are your greatest failures and disappointments? What do you learn from that? And then draw your flywheel, just like you saw the Amazon flywheel. Again, it's not a list, but it's a continuously improving process that builds on each other. And there should be no more than 6 components. If you got more than 6, then you got too many, and you need to go back and consolidate on what they are. And then once you've done that and you got your draft, I want you to go and get some feedback from some of your teammates and update it. Learn from what this tells you. And he recommends in the book that you actually should do this at least once a year. Now, this is a process, turning the flywheel, that Collins uses when he consults with major companies. so you can do it too for your business. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson on how to build breakthrough momentum by learning to draw your flywheel and figure out how you can accelerate success. I'm Doug Haynes, Vistage Chair in the Triad. Looking forward to seeing you next time.